Hey everybody, this is Gesler again, and I will be doing a post by Veleraen in the thread, Fate has brought me here, but faith will carry me even further. I picked some music that I think fits this post. I hope you guys like it, and I hope I do well. A wave of relief came over him as he saw Taurus's futures relax. The acceptance of Veleraen's bargain was at hand. But what was to come next was not for the weak of heart or soul. Veleraen knelt and watched as Taurus thrust forward his fist and joined by his brothers in tandem. The Titan of Aslan was lifted into the air and quite literally torn apart and reborn once again. His mouth and tongue wished to let loose a roar of pain in the extreme anguish that followed, but they soon, along with his lungs that might have supported such a venture, were no longer there. They purged everything that he was and replaced it anew, like overhauling a war vessel for a maiden voyage. A fresh start for a new journey. He could only watch in amazement as his body disintegrated up until the moment where his eyes dissolved into a bright light, and then there was nothing but his soul that floated where he once was. His existence spread outward like a mist. The components of what made up his flesh and blood expunged as a new body was created and transformed. While he was not fully aware of what was happening, he could feel as there were sets of hands inside his core, shaping something extraordinary and setting it straight once again. The pain was paramount, an experience that, even in his binding to the chains of Aslan and the purging of the poison in his body in prime by Taurus himself, did not even reside in the same universe of pain as what was occurring right now to his body, mind, and soul. Slowly bones and flesh rematerialized, nerves and veins shooting through them, ethereum being reforged and cast in an arm, all the parts of what he once was being stuck together with divine precision. A burst of divine energy encapsulated his body as he dropped to the ground on all fours, Veleraen taking one incredible breath as if it were his first in his life. His freshly remade body shook with adrenaline and unknowing fear. Wisps of steam and smoke cascaded into the air from his flesh as his body was reborn in the divine energies of Sonos himself, its inherent magical qualities touching his very soul. Eyes wondered as he reached up with a hand to feel his face. The chains, their sentient presence binding him to the pool of honored dead once more. I am whole again. His very being felt completely pure, as they had reached into him and inch by inch burned away the vile Etherean taint that existed within. Muscles rippled as he flexed his new body, curious as to whether or not he had been augmented in any other way besides the purge. Looking up at Taurus, the herald spoke in a commanding tone, asking him with the destruction of the Temple of Thorns. Veleraen was about to bow his head and accept it as his own when Taurus's face drew him in, the Titan not knowing exactly what was going on until he saw the murderous grin upon Veleraen's face. No! He reached out with a feeble hand as his strength failed him. Veleraen watched helplessly as Veleraen and Rhysand kicked up to the ground, and then in one foul swoop, Taurus was stripped of his helm and kicked through the waterfall, lost in oblivion, sentenced to perhaps death or worse. The Titan's face drained of all color. Despite his new livelihood, a set of tears running down his face as the horror of what just happened instilled him with shock and sadness. You! His fist clenched as Veleraen asked him if he liked what he saw. His face was not faded for long as his anger grew. In spite of absence of the taint, his rage swelled. "You betrayed your own brother!" he shouted at him, the blame being placed upon his shoulders, as it seemed that the taint was infected him, that their own greed and lust for power now taking advantage of the susceptible vessels that were the sons of Cheiron. His face strained in anger as he looked upon the corrupt face of Veleraen, Taurus's helm of courage resting upon an usurper's brow. "Taurus's fall, and it is on you, Titan." Teeth clenched, and the sound of Ethereum grinding on Ethereum sounding in the air as he had an unstateable urge to tackle the demigod through the waterfall whence his older brother had been tossed. Veleraen simply lifted his fist as he knelt there, a single finger extended and pointed at him. "Your brightenings will soon be at an end, Veleraen." Then the world scattered. His body was transported through the fabric of the plains until it reached the outskirts of Illyria Prime, where Veleraen fell straight on his chest, his mouth tasting dirt. He lay there for a moment in seething rage, his heart pounding as it sought vengeance for Taurus's betrayal. He slowly pushed himself upwards until he was on all fours, with his fist suddenly erupted and started to pound the earth, craters forming as his soul unleashed its fury. His fiery fist erupted as all of the guilt and shame that he had brought upon not only himself but Taurus as well overwhelmed him. Clumps of dirt and rock flew into the air as his ethereal fist dug its way, his soul seemingly intent on reaching the far reaches of Kelrondar on the other side of the continent. A final blow hit the ground, and his fist grew alight, his body surging forward, and he stood and slammed itself right into a tree, an explosion of wood and bark catching him in the chest and face as the center of the tree was decimated and the top half of the tree flipped in mid-air, collapsing to the ground in a violent fervor. His chest heaved, pulsing with the rhythm of his anger. Throughout the eras, he had always tried to undo the wrongs he had caused in his world. He had journeyed to the heralds in faith that they would help him rid himself of a curse that blighted his existence. Now he had brought a part of the corruption upon their own souls, infecting them and sentencing the eldest to a doomed fate. Eyes dipped to the forest floor. "They have been succumbed to a black heart. Something will always be lost in your quest for honor. This will be no different. Taurus will reign once again. Cheiron must know what has happened." Veleraen's eyes rose to the heavens, staring with an unbridled determination, with words flowing forth as if he accepted Veleraen to hear him from Sonos. "When I come for you, Veleraen, you will not be able to crawl to your father for mercy, because I will have broken you and your brother for your betrayal." Air rushed and exited his nose and mouth as his breath became aggressive and violent, like a bull exerting the hot air from its lungs in short bursts. "Heed this warning well, for it will be my last." His heart started to calm as he looked out through the forest canopy onto the horizon. "I will come for you, Taurus. I pleaded to you on my deathbed to burn the poison from my blood, to save me from my sins and give me a second chance. I came again to you in a time of peril, begged you for mercy, and you remade me in Aslan's image. I will come for you and free you from your brother's prison, even if it is the very last thing I do." Two tones of flesh and steeled honor stepped into the thick forest and underbrush. Then he was gone. Epic post, dude. Epic post. I really enjoyed it. Good job, man. Epic. I kind of want to read this thread now. I might just do that.